Hello students, my name is Irzan. I'm a teacher of Department of Family Medicine. Today's lecture topic is disability in vulnerable adults. So today I would like to provide this link. So please come to this link and see what is the video in this link. So today's objective of this lecture is I would like to talk about what is the learning disability. So learning disability affects the way a person understands information and how they communicate. It means someone can have difficulty to communicate with each other. And also, understanding new or complex information is very difficult for the person with a learning disability. And also, it's very difficult for them to gain new skill, to have, for example, learning new skill is very difficult. And also, it's very difficult for them to coping independently. So, learning disability that differs from nation and for the countries, and it's so different to each other. So for example, their learning disability, it comes from the obvious reason. For example, there's a kind of alteration of the birth development. For example, there's a hypoxic brain damage at the birth. It's the one of the main cause of learning disability. Also, non-inherited learning disability is one of the causes of the LD. Also, early childhood illness such as meningitis is one of the cause of learning disability. And also in utero exposure to toxins such as alcohol and certain medications is one of those on disability. And also early childhood neglect is one of the causes tend to give a learning disability in children. So what is the learning disability severity? That's classified into mild, moderate, and severe. Some people with a mild learning disability can talk easily and look after themselves but take a bit longer than usual to learn new skills. People with severe learning disability may not be able to communicate at all and have more than one disability. But the multiple learning disability that happens in some person is often associated with physical disability, sensory impairment, and other mental health difficulties. So I would like to say that anyone can have learning disability. This is not a big thing for the people, but it might be a challenge for themselves. Do not make any assumption. Anyone who can have with high IQ, so anyone who can have big high guys may have a learning disability. It's not depends on the IQ. It's not depends on the person. It could be covered anyone. For example, this well-known person have a learning disability. So anyone who knows this guy, who knows this person. Also, learning disability, I would like to talk about some facts. So people with learning disability are 58 times more likely to die aged under 50. It's because of the restriction of the healthcare. It's because of the might be stigma. It's because of the discrimination, and we need to take care of those people because lifespan of those people is so short. 75% of general practitioners have received no training to help them treat people with learning disability. So they haven't got enough information how to help them. So we need to have at least standard healthcare, primary healthcare for the people with learning disability. So we need to know about that in detail in practical lesson. So initial thoughts. So what is this happening? What can be done to prevent it? And what can you or your practice to improve this? I'd like to ask this question. So there's an interesting data is that the confidential inquiry reviewed the deaths of 2,047 people with intellectual disability with subgroup comparison. It states that avoidable death from causes to change by good quality health care more common in people with learning disability. So what the cause of this? What's cause of this thing? So that's mean delays of diagnosis, access to early investigation and treatments. So please put attention on delay of diagnosis. So that's mean we need to be more access in those people. More access, more assessment, more crucial follow-up for those people. So learning disability, just 1 in 3 people have a learning disability take part in some form of education or training. Less than 1 in 5 people with learning disability work, but we know that at least 65% of people with learning disability want to work. People with learning disability that do work must only work part-time and mostly are unfortunately low paid. So most of them with the learning disability, person with learning disability stays home. That's mean that they don't get any job. They don't get any independence. They don't get independence of financial, either in social well-being. So less than a third people with learning disability have some choice of who they live with. It's very difficult to find out someone to live with. And also 7 out of 10 families caring for someone with profound multiple learning disability. And also there's a lack of service for giving support for the family with disability. So most people with learning disability are treated as different. They do not have the same control over their own life as the rest of our society. And how about the children? Children with learning disability are often socially excluded. It's very difficult, even in even in a developed world. For example, 8 of 10 children with learning disability are bullied. 1 in 2 families with disabled child live in poverty. So what should we do in our society? 98% have heard dyslexia. 60% don't know about the dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and dyspraxia. 76% know genetics can be cause of a learning disability. So the parents says about disabilities that 45% of parents say their children have been bullied. 66% think that kids with learning disability are bullied more than other kids. 37% say their children's school doesn't effectively test for learning disability. That's obvious data comes from the parents of the children with learning disability. So please see the video is provided this link. It's very interesting video. You can understand what's the real what's the real environment can feel the children with learning disability. So what should we do then? We need to do a regular checkup. People with learning disability have shorter lifespan compared to the other people. Mortality rate of people with moderate to severe learning disability is 3 times higher than general population. Interaction with physical, behavioral, mental health issues can appear to be difficult to interpret and may cause illness to be overlooked, so that serious conditions present too late for prevention or cure. So, learning disability annual checkup we need to be done at the primary care level because there's people or tend to include in the risk group. At the health check, most people with learning disabilities I find to have an illness or health condition that doctors don't know about before. Health checks also help people to get more help with any health problem found in the health checkup. So how to do that? Identify clinical lead within your practice, develop a core practice team, contact community team leader, identify people with a learning disability from practice list, and identify those who are priority for health check. And also ensure adequate time, arrange any blood test prior to the appointment, complete health checkup action plan, and give a copy to the person with learning disability and their caregiver. So what about the learning disability and mental health problems? Medical and biological. So what is the medical biological problem, mental health problem? That's the underlying cause of the learning disability, may link to mental health problems. People with long-term medical conditions such as epilepsy or diabetes are also at increased risk of experiencing mental illness. How about the social? People with learning disability may have a smaller social circle, fewer friends. Often they do not have choose who to be friends with, but are placed in a group according to their needs. So how about emotional psychological need? People with learning disabilities may struggle to understand and express their emotions. They have lack of opportunities. For example, people with learning disabilities have few opportunities in all areas like education, sport, leisure time, hobbies, travel, and employment. Lack of control over their lives. People with learning disability are often not appropriately supported to make meaningful choices, be more confident in the shift their potential. So, previous lecture I'll talk about the early prevention of the disability. So once we can't have any intervention, can't have any prevention, these people with the learning disability with children, let's go to the vulnerable adults. So let's see what's the definition is there. A vulnerable adult is described as a person aged 18 years or over who is in receipt or may be in need of community care services by reason of mental or other disability, age or illness, and who's or may be unable to care of him or herself, or unable to protect him or herself against significant harm or exploitation. So vulnerable adults, that's any person who lacks an absolute most basic experience, for example, human life skill, human life skill. So we have those kind of abbreviations there, formative years. That's childhood, adolescent, and young adulthood. So vulnerable adults causes, this might be genetic causes. For example, Down syndrome is one of the genetic causes of vulnerable adult. And also Marfan, Cloudfield, so many genetic illnesses can contribute to the vulnerability. And also some kind of abuse, for example, severe neglect, cognitive impairment could be develop vulnerability in person. Also, vulnerable adults' activity of daily living are usually impaired. Not knowing or being able to learn the skill necessary to communicate with the local government and authority when help is needed. So basically, I would like to tell that it's very difficult for our country and also in our world, because even though right now the social the community cannot understand fully what is the learning disability. Also, the person with a high level policymakers could not understand, could not give a support for those people. So they faced with a different kind of abuse. For example, there is a faced with sexual abuse. What is the sexual abuse? There's a sexual harassment. It's inappropriate looking or touching, as well as raping. The sexual photography, subjection of pornography, witnessing sexual acts, and sexual acts that you didn't agree or were pressured into consenting to count as sexual abuse. What is the physical abuse? That's the abuse in the word. Being assaulted, hit, slapped, pushed, restrained, being denied food or water, or not being helped to go to the bathroom when you need to go. It can also include misuse of your medication. What is the physiological abuse? Psychological abuse. This includes someone emotionally abusing you or threatening to hurt or abandon you, stopping you from seeing people, and humiliating, blaming, controlling, intimidating, or harassing. Also, it includes verbal abuse, cyberbullying, and isolation is very common now, or an unreasonable and unjustified withdrawal of service or support networks. What is the domestic abuse? It's typically an incident or pattern of incident of controlling, coercive, or threatening behavior, violence, or abuse by someone who is or has been an intimate partner or family member. Discrimination. What is discriminatory abuse? It includes some forms of harassment, slurs, similar unfair treatment relating to race, gender, and gender identity, age, disability, sexual orientation, or religion. What is the financial abuse? This could be someone stealing money or other valuable from you, or it might be someone who is appointed to look after your money on your health, using the money inappropriately or coercing you into spending it in a way you are not happy with it. So what is the neglect in the people with a learning disability? Neglect is also a form of abuse. Neglect includes not being provided with enough food or the right kind of food, or not being taken proper care of it. So also please watch this YouTube video. It's very helpful to understand what is the neglect, what is the kind of some challenges happening in a disability person. So when this abuse at home, you have to be said to the person, we have to be tell them. And also have been released so many rights of the disability person, but still it's not so well implemented in worldwide, but it's still in a progress. Also, there's in developing countries, there's so many implementing projects in the caregivers of the disability person. And there's a study case, Peter's story. There's so much telling about the obstacles and whole story. So I would like to share this story in a practical lesson, and we would deal this case discussion later on practical. And today's lecture was like really talk about the learning disability, what is the cause, what is the definition, what kind of statistical data comes to the learning disability, and what should we do to avoid better healthcare for the people, and what kind of abuse have been they faced. So thank you for listening this lecture, and see you soon on the practical.